get into the West Ham game yesterday, 1-1 at the London Stadium. Not a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. What did you make out of the game yesterday, Sim?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed by what I saw yesterday from the team, not going to lie. I thought we were, by and large, kind of lacking in energy. We were lacking in creativity with ideas. We were struggling for a lot of the game yesterday. I think there were times where we were penning West Ham in, but they seemed to have a clear plan when we were in possession, allow the ball to go to Sanchez and then trigger a press. And that was probably what the game plan was for Moyes. And it was a very good game plan because we definitely struggled to build from the back. Once Sanchez started and Emerson were getting too involved in the build-up. And I think without Romero, he's our backup, and I think I'm not here to say that Sanchez is a terrible player or that we can't cope with him in the team. But when teams plan for him like that, it becomes very difficult, and that was their main source of success yesterday.
The fact of the matter is with Sanchez, right? It happens every time where he comes in for a couple of games and he looks all right, and then the third or fourth game when he's asked to have a long stretch in the team, that's when the problems start to come. And I think he's been all right up until now, but it clearly showed the need for a Christian Romero to come back in the team yesterday. As much as I've been bigging up Sanchez as well the last 3 games, you can't have him in the team for a long stretch of time.
I don't know if it's a long stretch of time. I just think it's the quality of the opposition. It's going to be a tougher game against West Ham than it is against Forest or against Wolves. I think West Ham always up for it at the London Stadium against Spurs in their biggest game of the season, and they know that. And there was definitely a lot more energy from West Ham than I've seen from them in previous games this season. So I think Sanchez, again, defensively, I still think he did a decent job, but on the ball, he was definitely suspect. And I think him and Emerson down that side was a bit of a recipe for disaster at times when we were trying to pass through West Ham. It was very, very difficult for us to do that. And then once we got into their final third, which we did quite a few times yesterday, we didn't really have that creativity to break them down. It was only really Ivan Perisic causing West Ham problems. Apart from him, there wasn't too many...
it was him and a bit of Kulu as well.
Yeah, and there wasn't too many other avenues where we were really hurting them. Son and Kane weren't maybe getting on the ball enough in the final third. I think Kane actually got on the ball quite a bit in the middle part of the pitch, especially when we were breaking on teams, breaking on West Ham. But Son, again, a bit of a no-show. wasn't really on form yesterday, and it was a disappointing performance and a disappointing result. But having said that, we didn't lose. We got the point, and we move on. We're 5 games unbeaten, and it's not the end of the world in the end in terms of result.
No, it's not the end of the... In terms of result, it's not the end of the world, but it is worrying, these performances that are happening now. And I think yesterday was different in a sense to the other performances where we grew into the game and got better in the game as the game wore on. I felt like we got worse as the game wore on yesterday. And that passing out the back in the second half was literally so embarrassing to watch. It really was. I mean, from Lloris was terrible passing it out the back. I mean, how many times did he play a shocking pass in that second half? Sanchez, Davis, Dyer, I mean, they were all at it yesterday. It was embarrassing, it really was, and obviously their goal resulted in it. And the most frustrating thing about it all is how unavoidable that goal was that we conceded. That's how frustrating the whole thing was, because if that goal doesn't go in, you could be talking about 3 points in another game which we probably didn't deserve to take 3 points. But it's just so frustrating that we concede like that, where it's just completely avoidable, man. It's so avoidable. Yeah,
we switched off. I think the whole team switched off. Højbjerg was talking to the referee. Bissouma was let Souček run off him.
Yeah.
We allowed an easy throw go right into Antonio's feet, although that was definitely a foul throw. Looking back on it, surprised that wasn't called, but we just completely switched off in a really stupid moment, and it was a moment where we had pretty good control of the game as well. Actually, we started the second half fairly well after a fairly lackluster first half. And we looked to be in control, but then once the goal went in, momentum shifts, and West Ham then all of a sudden on the front foot. So it must be really frustrating for Conte for that goal to go in when you're in a good stage of the game, and then after that, we didn't recover, and I think Conte as well made a change really late. Why he didn't change it before? Why he left Højbjerg on when he was clearly struggling with an injury? Why he didn't maybe give Spence a run out at right wing back when we needed some impetus going down that side? These are questions which he's going to have to try and, I mean, not doesn't have to answer, but these are questions that he's going to have to think about and work on, because only having Richarlison, who did make an impact, we're still lacking on a few things on the pitch going into the latter stage of the game. We nearly lost it at the end. So I don't know why he only made one change. He said he wanted to keep stability of the team, but I don't know why bringing on some of the players you have on the bench will lose that stability. I don't really understand it.
He could have done more yesterday, Conte, in my opinion. I mean, how many times we were saying changes were crying out for so early on in the game yesterday, and he waited till late and only one change when you can make a possible of 5. When you've got players like Sessegnon and Spence on the bench that can come on and do something from wing back, they really can. So he's got to be utilising the squad a bit more. He will be utilising the squad over the next few weeks. He says a lot of changes are going to come. Well, rotation is going to be used for Fulham, he said. So we'll see what happens there. But let's talk about some key moments in terms of the penalty or the non-penalty decision with the VAR. Now seeing it back, what do you think of it?
It's a difficult one because we've seen decisions like that not be overturned so many times. When a ball, when your hand is so high, like it was for Cresswell, I've seen the replay. Obviously, it does hit his head and then go onto his hand, but it definitely hits his hand.
Kind of like rolls up his arm, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think that VAR shouldn't have got involved with that, to be honest. I think it was a harsh penalty, but I don't think VAR should have been getting involved, just because I don't think it was a clear and obvious error. I think some people might have said that to handball, some people might not. I don't know if by the letter of the law it's definitely not a handball. I think West Ham got a bit lucky that the VAR decided to overturn it, although we got a bit lucky that it was given. I think in those situations we should go with the referee's decision on the pitch. So I'm a bit annoyed because I've seen decisions against Tottenham where similar things have happened and the penalty stands. So I don't understand why in this instance it was such an obvious error that they had to go to VAR. But in all when it all said and done, they probably did get the right decision, in all honesty. But I think just a bit frustrating that they pick and choose this high bar that they go with, don't they? You know, we don't know which decision is going to be overturned and which isn't sometimes. That's probably why Conte's really frustrated, and I understand it. So I think we have a right to be a bit aggrieved from that point, but it's not a massive talking point from that. And we went 1-0 up anyway.
Yeah, I personally think after watching it back, I didn't think it was a penalty, to be honest. I think it's nothing the player could have done in that situation to avoid that, in my opinion. And I think the ref probably came to the right call in the end, to be honest. I mean, it's nothing like what the decision the ref made last week against Nottingham Forest, not sending off that player. That was a disgrace. I actually think the ref, VAR got it right at the end yesterday. But on the flip side of that, I think that the ref put in a shocking display yesterday. I think that time and time again, every single decision went West Ham's way yesterday. Every single one. I couldn't believe my eyes what I was seeing. Even like corners and throw-ons and stuff like that, which should have gone the other way, went the wrong way. And it was just like, what are you playing at? Why is the level of officiating so bad in this league?
Yeah, and talking about the VAR decision, some people have brought up in the comments, it took an age.
3-4 minutes.
That was ridiculous. Yeah. How many times do you have to look at an incident? Does it hit his head onto his arm or not? That's literally why is that taking more than 60 seconds? Like, we all have a TV right at home. We can see an instant replay within seconds of the incident, what's happened, and make a judgment. These are supposed to be professional referees who know the laws of the game inside and out. Why is it taking 3 or 4 minutes to look over a decision and advise the decision on the referee? The only reason it is because they're not sure, and they're worried about other repercussions, or they're worried about if they're getting the decision right. There is no decision I can think of, like when with all the cameras we have now in this day and age, that should take 3 or 4 minutes to look over. If you're a professional referee, most people, as I say, sitting at home, can probably look at the decision with an instant replay and make a call instantly,
seconds, yeah.
within seconds. So why can't a VAR official do
Agreed.
that?
I completely
Don't
agree
understand
with you.
it. It's so frustrating.
What do you say to Conte in Conte's comments on VAR that he said maybe England shouldn't have VAR, the fans don't like it, all this kind of stuff that he was saying in this press conference?
I think in many ways VAR's improved, but when incidents like that happen, it's really frustrating when it takes so long. To be honest, I haven't seen too many times when it's taken as long as it did yesterday recently. For VAR. I think when VAR first came in, there was a lot of teething problems, and they're starting to be ironed out a bit. But I think the incidents like yesterday obviously caused frustration. Look, it's here to stay. We're not going to bin it off. I don't think we should bin it off, but I do think we need to work even harder to improve the standard of it, because it's a bit ridiculous that the decisions like yesterday where. How close is it? I mean, how many times do you have to replay it and look over it again? If it's that close, then you shouldn't overturn it. If you're looking over for him, in my opinion, you should only overturn it if you can literally see after at least 60 seconds that it's a clear error. It's clearly not a clear error if you're taking 4 minutes over it, are you? How can that be a clear error? Absolutely. So, but the rule that VAR has is that how it works is they ask the referee what he saw, and if what he said he saw doesn't match with what actually happened, then that's grounds for a VAR review. So if the referee didn't see it hit his head and then his hand, if he only saw it hit his hand, then why is it taking so long? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But look, I think Conte was probably just a bit emotional yesterday. We said we should bin off VAR. I don't think we should bin it off.
As he always is.
Yeah. He must be frustrated, and I understand a lot of managers being frustrated with some of the inconsistencies and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I do think majority of decisions are getting corrected, and that's a good thing.
In time, moving away from VAR now, in terms of the game yesterday, I mean, we both said yesterday after the game that we felt like a draw was a fair result. On reflection now, having slept on it, do you still, agree with that?
I think probably we were a bit more fortunate than I thought to get a point.
That's how I'm feeling.
But I would say that's based on the fact that late in the last few minutes of the game, they had a flurry of chances.
They should have won the game in the last 10 minutes, let's be honest.
They should have won. They had chances right at the end of the game to win it. I would say up until that point, it was probably a fair result or a draw. But that flurry of chances probably leans it a bit more in West Ham's favour, where they probably feel a bit more disappointed they didn't win. I think in the essence of the game, I think it was fairly even. I think they had chances, we had chances. I think in terms of stats, I think they had 14 shots, we had 13. Both had 4 on target. But I think it was just those late flurry of chances at the end, which were pretty good, especially that Bowen one, which was literally the last kick of the game. He really should have scored that, or
past the post,
or at least someone should have followed it in at the back post. So we definitely got away with that. But I do think in general, a draw was probably a fair result, but I think we probably walk away with that more lucky that we got a point than unlucky that we didn't get 3, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, after the game, we saw the reaction of the West Ham fans. We saw the reaction of the Spurs fans. I mean, West Ham fans were so happy to take a point from that game. And then it felt like a loss yesterday, didn't it? It really felt like a loss. Why did it feel like a loss if they had so many good chances at the end? Was it because we just shouldn't have given away that goal?
It felt like a loss because we want to go into these games and win. That's why it felt like a loss.
But deservingly, we didn't deserve to win that game. You know what I mean?
I know. But we were 1-0 up. We gave it away. Let's be honest. I think we gave it away as well at a time when we were most in control of the game, which is also very frustrating. And then after that, we were our own worst enemy. So it kind of felt self-inflicted a lot, and that's why it's going to feel like a loss in a game like that. And especially when West Ham aren't playing very well at the moment, starting the season with 3 defeats and a win which they only just got over the line against Aston Villa as well. So we came into this game wanting a win. I think we all wanted to win. Even me, who said a draw wouldn't be the worst result before the game, I said I also wanted to win. Of course I do. Especially when you want to close the gap to the top teams. These are the type of games that are very important. But that's the ambition of the fans and where we're at the moment. And obviously, it's going to be disappointing when you're in control of the game, you're 1-0 up, and you just defend like we did in the second half for large periods. So that's why it's going to feel like a loss. But it's not to say in the grand scheme of a whole season, I don't think it's the worst result. But I think right now it's going to feel bitterly disappointing that it's just the way we handled it was just game management. And we didn't. I think in a weird way in the other games this season we've actually managed the game very well. In a sense, we've lost control, but then we earned it back and we've done well. Yesterday we didn't manage the game well, and that was probably a really disappointing aspect of it. How we had control, we gained it, and then we lost it in such a self-inflicted manner. And then the most disappointing thing is they kept doing the same thing time and time. West Ham letting Sanchez have the ball, then triggering a press and planning for it
into their hands every time.
Exactly, we just kept giving it to him as if like this is the solution. I think Conte should have spotted that. Should have done something. I don't know whether even doing something crazy like putting Emerson a right centre back and bringing on a right wing back, or going to a back four.
Where was Romero though?
Romero still
Where
not
was
being
he?
risked
Because we heard that he'd been in training the whole of last week. Never mind this week. So I mean, where was he? Conte said in his press conference he's ready. So
didn't
where
want
was he?
to risk him.
Understand.
Didn't want to risk him.
Not even on the bench. It's crazy. He was saying about Skip as well. Like he didn't want to risk bringing him on, and he was on the bench.
Look, I'm sure Conte's taking the best. I'm sure Conte wants to use him, but he doesn't. Look, we're still in August. We're 5 games in. We don't want to risk a player getting that. I say that, and then we do what we did with Højbjerg, so it doesn't really make sense. But I understand that a manager doesn't want to risk having a long-term injury when the games are coming thick and fast. And at the end of the day, we did get a draw, so it's not like we lost, and we did only concede 1 goal. But I would say that it's a bit frustrating that Romero keeps getting delayed a few more, even though apparently he's made himself available for the last 2 games. He's not in the 11, but trust me, I'm pretty sure if Conte trusts that he was going to be available without any risk, I'm sure he would have played him. I've got no doubt about that. I don't think Conte's holding Romero back. I really believe Conte wants Romero back as soon as possible. But it's interesting to hear him say that he believes maybe Longlay's going to get his chance over the next game or 2, which is good. He was saying in his post-match. I think on the weekend, on the weekend we might see some more changes.
Do you reckon Longley comes in for the Fulham game, or he comes in for the Champions League game against Marseille?
I would have him in for the Fulham game. I would give him a go in that one, because you don't want you don't want to risk having a bad start to the Champions League campaign, having it starting with a loss or anything like that, especially at home to Marseille. So I think if he plays really well against Fulham, then he can keep his place. But I would go for that, especially because Davis for me didn't have a great game as well. So I think it's a good opportunity to have him in, and hopefully he can do a better job than Davis did yesterday. Davis was a bit frustrating at times, but then again, it was the team dynamic, especially in the last half an hour, wasn't great. But let's talk about Bissouma, who made his debut yesterday. Had a first 90 minutes in the Tottenham shirt.
I'll tell you the truth, I wasn't that impressed with Bissouma yesterday. I thought he was playing within himself a bit, looking for the safe option pretty much every time. No, I just wasn't that impressed. I think that it's his first game, so you're going to give him a pass. So he's going to feel his way into the team. But I think he needs to do more, to be honest, in that midfield. And I think the midfield was a bit too easily bypassed again yesterday. And especially with Højbjerg, the way he was in that second half, it didn't do Bissouma any favours.
And the fact he was on a yellow.
The fact he was on a yellow card as well. So... And it being his first game, so you've got to give him a pass, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think he was awful. I think there was some really good things in his display, but I think by and large, I want to see him take a bit more authority, like I've seen him do for Brighton a lot of times. I think he's too focused on, like as much as we fans get a bit frustrated with Højbjerg with sometimes his passing can get intercepted or whatnot. It's because he's willing to do more vertical passes and take more risk. When you do that, the risk of your passes getting intercepted is obviously going to go a lot higher, especially when you're not the best passer in the world like Højbjerg. But I do appreciate that he's trying to get the team up the pitch, and I do appreciate that he's trying to make things happen instead of just keep ball and playing it safe all the time. And I think we need that, and I think Bissouma needs to do a bit more of that as well. I think a lot of the time he's always got... Like a lot of the time, he was just playing it back to Sanchez. I'm not gonna lie, or into Højbjerg, and he's got to do a bit better in those situations to kind of if we want him and Højbjerg to be players where we're not always being stifled when we're in the final third, he has to be a bit more adventurous with how he plays. I'm sure that will come because he's got all the attributes for it. He's a really good dribbler. He's actually got a pretty good shot on him when given the chance, and he's a pretty good passer as well. The question is whether he's a creative enough passer. And I think that's something that's always been holding him back a bit. He's a good passer, but he's not the most creative. So he needs to work on that element of his game to be a bit more adventurous and maybe take authority in the game. But I do think in general, I think the fact that he was on a yellow card definitely hampered him. But I think he also
a stupid yellow card to get. I mean,
I can understand why he was frustrated, but he shouldn't have done that.
On your debut, when you're making your first game against West Ham away, whatever the game is, to be honest, it doesn't matter if it's West Ham away or not. You can't be doing that early on in the game. You know you're going to get booked.
Yeah.
You have to have a bit more self-control. I'm sorry.
Of course, and he'll learn from that.
But the fact of the matter is, I'm not really worried about Bissouma at all. I'm not worried about him. It was his first game. It was a tough conditions to come in at as well against an up for it West Ham. So I think that this weekend, I think he plays again against Fulham, and I'm expecting a much better game from him, to be honest.
Well, I'm sure Bentancur, although, showed how much we missed him a bit yesterday with some of his composure with Yaz in the centre. But yeah, I think I'm not sure if the weekend will come too early, but yeah, I think once he really gets acclimatized into the team, he's going to be a very good player for us. And even I saw glimpses yesterday of what he can, of some of the things he can do. And it's a bit like how when Kulusevski had his first few starts, he didn't really impress, and people started questioning him. But I saw glimpses of what he can do in those moments where people were doubting him.
I thought Kulu was good in his debut, to be honest.
People were saying he wasn't. So I think for me, I saw glimpses in Bissouma, even though it was few and far between, of impressive moments. So hopefully, once he's fully acclimatized to how Conte likes to play his team and how we like to play in his teammates as well, then that will come. The performances will come. But yesterday was a difficult game for him.
Look, we talk about the bigger picture in terms of unbeaten after 5 games, 3 wins, 2 draws. The draws coming against Chelsea away and West Ham away. Grounds that are notoriously hard for us over the years. But with the way we're playing football at the moment, are you worried going into this really busy period? Because Conte and his team and the Spurs team, we find it very hard to play 2 games in a week. He likes to have a whole week of preparation for games.
I think every manager does.
I know every manager does, but I think Conte has shown in the past, and he kind of needs a week to prepare the team for a game. Are you worried? We've got Man City away coming up next weekend. We've got Fulham this weekend, who have started the season really well. Or are you just looking at it like we're getting past in games, we're doing well, we're getting points?
Yeah, obviously, I want the performances to improve. I'm the level of performances, even though, we've had let's be honest, we have had a fairly difficult start to the season. It's not been easy, the games we've had. We had 3 away games, 2 of them in London derbies. It's not easy at all.
2 really hard games coming up now as well.
So obviously, I'm a bit concerned with the level of performance, but I see people say like the only way we can break teams down is this way, and we need this so we can start being creative. It's like last season we were swatting teams away 4 and 5-0, like on a regular basis at points last season, and these are the same players, so there's no reason we can't get back to those levels. We've started the season performance-wise very slowly, not results-wise, but
why is that? Can you put your finger on like what is actually happening? Why are we started the season looking a bit so disjointed?
I wouldn't say it's disjointed. I don't think we've started disjointed, but I think we've lacked a bit of energy, I would say, especially when the opposition have a lot of possession. We're giving them a bit too much control, and maybe that's something Conte has to work on. I'm not 100% sure the reason for it, to be honest. It's difficult to put your finger on why that's happening. Having said that, apart from the goal we conceded yesterday, I think the other goals weren't as avoidable as that one. It's difficult. Well, it's difficult to say, but
I would say that yesterday for the goal, though, I thought Antonio's assist was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had a
really nice.
he had a good assist, but
chip into the thing.
he had a good assist,
and
but
had a good effort on goal that hit the post. That was about it.
no, I'm saying he had a good assist, but that we shouldn't really let
I know
Souček
it's
run
terrible
off him.
defending. It's terrible
awful.
defending.
Why have we started the season so disjointedly, in a performance-wise, or lacking in energy? I don't know. It's a difficult one to put your finger on. Maybe it's because we had such a tough pre-season. I don't know, but that should make you even fitter.
But it's like
I don't know. It's
like the
difficult to say.
performances in pre-season weren't so dissimilar to this.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's like we've carried on kind of where we have left off at pre-season, because I thought like we were just playing not that great in pre-season because, you know, intensity wasn't high because, you know, they were putting so much intensity into training and stuff like that, and Conte was working them like crazy. Maybe we just have to wait until the players get to grips with how hard they did train in pre-season, and things will click at some point. I don't know.
I still think the fitness is pretty good. I know yesterday we didn't have a good second half, but second halves in general this season have still been pretty good. So from that side of things, it's okay. I don't know. Maybe it's just we haven't clicked yet, and once we start clicking, things will go to plan. I just think right now we're struggling a bit. It's difficult to put your finger on where we're really struggling.
We're definitely struggling just passing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, our counter-attacking is still very good.
Yeah.
Like, we're still really, even yesterday, we're still quite dangerous on the counter-attack. I think West Ham gave us more possession.
Last season, there was a point in the season where we were actually really good at building play out from the back and starting attacks from the back and building up the play. This season, it seems to be completely lost.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say in every game it's been completely lost. Yesterday definitely was, but I wouldn't say in every game it is. And I think once Romero comes back and once Longley as well gets into the team, I think that will improve. I really think that will improve. And also once Bissouma gets involved more in the team, I think that also going to improve, because we're going to have someone who can really get on the ball and turn and drive at the opposition. Whereas right now we don't really have that player. So I think there's no need to panic. There's no need to be too worried. I think obviously you have to acknowledge the struggles we've had, even though the results have still been good. I think you have to acknowledge that the performances haven't been top-notch just yet. But I don't think there's any reason to be overly concerned just yet going into the season that this is going to be how we're going to play the whole season and this is indicative of the whole team and all the players and everything like that. I think that's going a bit far. And I think the fact that we've got results while playing like this is a proof that these players are still pretty good,
The
system's pretty good, even though we're not playing the best right now. So I think just people need to be a bit more patient. I know people want us to hit the ground running and be prime Conte from minute one. Look, Conte, even for Inter and Chelsea, has had slow starts to the season before they really get going. It's happened a few times. So I wouldn't say that just because we haven't been at our best so far, that means that's going to be indicative of how we're going to play as well. And also, you know, we're still 11 points out of 15. It's not to be sniffed at. That's not easy to achieve.
One of our best starts in a long time.
Exactly. That's not to be sniffed at, even though the performances haven't been at the best. It's not to be sniffed at. So I think people are right to call out the performances not being great, but I don't think people panicking and, you know, saying this isn't good enough, that's not good enough, time to, the board aren't being ambitious enough and all. I mean, you could argue that, but I don't think we need to panic just yet. But I'm not going to lie, if we don't get anyone in deadline day, which is looking increasingly likely at this point, that would be disappointing, especially if we do let Gil go and we don't get a replacement. That does lead, because we've only Richarlison up front yesterday. I know Moura was injured, so he's also to come in. But with only one option on the bench,
but you've also had two wing-backs on the bench as well, which are very important.
Attacking positions, yeah. That's also true.
People are failing to point that one out. Everyone's going out on social media, we've only had one attacking option on the bench. But no, we didn't, because we also had Sessegnon and Spence on the bench who were attacking options.
And Doherty as well.
Yeah.
And Doherty,
so I think that's a bit unfair on the squad, to be honest.
Oh, that's interesting. It looks like, according to Fabrizio Romano, Gvardiol has extended his contract at Leipzig and they rejected Chelsea's offer.
Oh, wow.
So that's good news.
So everyone that was panicking about Gvardiol going to Chelsea, they can...
they can chill out for a bit. Chill out for a bit.
But look, I think we'll get into the transfer window in a bit, but I think that to finish off the match review, let's be honest, performances aren't great. Results aren't terrible.
Results are good.
Results good. If we go out this weekend and go put in a really good performance against Fulham and create loads of chances and go win the game comfortably, you know, the narratives will start changing. And
I think, a lot is riding on the narrative on the weekend, because let's say if we draw at home to Fulham, all of a sudden it goes from a really good start to 3 wins and 3 draws, and that's not amazing. Although it is still unbeaten. And even if we lose, that'll be 3 wins, 2 draws and defeat, which is a pretty average start. But if we win, that's 4 wins and 2 draws, which is a very good start. So a lot is riding on the result to how people will perceive how things are going right now. So, and it just shows how fickle like football is of perceptions and stuff like that. But that's the reality in terms of how we're starting to get us at the season. And as well, I think going into Man City, we need to be in decent momentum, I'm hoping. And, hopefully we'll have players back for that game and we'll be a lot fresher than we are. Look, Man City are looking...
against Haaland, man. I'm not looking forward to that at all.
9 goals already this season. I mean, Kane's had a brilliant start with 4 goals in 5, and he's been blown out the water.
Haaland just makes everything a joke. Literally everything a joke. Like all these players that are saying, "Oh, what a great start to the season," and Haaland just come hat trick,
back-to-back
playing 90 minutes. I mean, he got taken off at like 60th minute.
He probably had less touches than he did goals yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised when it comes with Haaland.
The guy is an absolute animal. I'm actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually frightened against coming up against the player.
Well, one thing I would say is all his goals have been just in the 6-yard box, haven't they? Except for that one,
in that 6-yard box, man.
Except for that one where he against Palace, which was a good turn and finish. Like, they've all been he's a poacher, man. That's what he does. He's
physically
in and around
against anyone in this league.
If he get a run on anyone, that's the problem. And exactly. So you can't contain him unless you just cut off the supply. That's the only way. So it's going to be difficult to contain Haaland on when we play them. Hopefully, maybe he'll be injured or something.
It's like a cheat code.
I say that Alvarez is also looking pretty good. So it's not like it's going to be easy to stop him as well.
All right, well, that is your match review from the 1-1 draw at the London Stadium yesterday.